Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered how it all began? Or stood in awe before the beauty of a sunrise, feeling the weight of something far greater than yourself? The story of creation is one that has fascinated humanity for centuries. A tale of light emerging from darkness, life springing from nothingness, and the delicate balance between order and chaos. It's not just an ancient narrative. It's a reflection of who we are, where we came from, and why we exist. Imagine a world untouched by time. No cities, no noise, just vast emptiness waiting to be shaped. Picture the moment when the first ray of light pierced through the void, setting into motion everything we know today. But this isn't just about beginnings. This is also about choices, the kind that define us, test our faith, and reveal the fragility of perfection. A single decision in a garden changed the course of history forever, introducing pain, struggle, and redemption into the human experience. This is more than a story. It's a mirror held up to our own lives. How did we get here? And what lessons can we take from those who walked before us? Over the next few minutes, we'll journey through creation, fallibility, and legacy. Stay with me. You won't want to miss this. In the beginning, there was nothing. No light, no sound, no life. Just an endless void, a vast emptiness that stretched beyond comprehension. And then, in a moment that defied all understanding, God spoke. His voice echoed through the silence, and with it came creation itself. "Let there be light," he declared, and suddenly, light burst forth into existence. It was not the dim flicker of a candle or the pale glow of a distant star, but a radiant brilliance that illuminated everything. God saw that the light was good, and he separated it from the darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. Thus began the first day, the foundation of time itself. On the second day, God turned his attention to the heavens. With another commanding word, he created the sky, stretching it across the expanse like a vast canopy. The waters above were divided from the waters below, forming a boundary that separated the earth from the heavens. This act was not merely functional, but deeply symbolic, a reminder of God's power to bring order out of chaos. The sky became a masterpiece, a canvas upon which the sun, moon, and stars would later paint their stories. Even in its simplicity, the sky was breathtaking, a testament to the artistry of its creator. The third day marked the emergence of land and seas. God gathered the waters below into one place, allowing dry ground to appear. He called the dry ground earth and the gathered waters seas. But God was not done yet. He commanded the earth to bring forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds and trees bearing fruit, each according to its kind. The earth responded eagerly, bursting into life with lush greenery, vibrant flowers, and towering trees. Fields of golden wheat swayed gently in the breeze, while orchards overflowed with apples, figs, and pomegranates. Every plant was perfectly designed, not only for beauty, but also for purpose. The trees provided shade, the fruits nourishment, and the seeds the promise of future growth. God looked at what he had made, and he declared it good. On the fourth day, God adorned the heavens with lights. He created the sun to rule the day, its warmth and energy sustaining all life on earth. The moon took its place to govern the night, casting a soft glow over the world below. Then came the stars, scattered across the sky like diamonds on velvet. Each star told a story. Each constellation whispered secrets of eternity. These celestial bodies were more than mere decorations. They were markers of time, guiding humanity through seasons, days, and years. They reminded mankind of God's faithfulness, his unchanging presence in a constantly shifting world. The fifth day brought movement and life to the skies and seas. God filled the oceans with creatures of every kind, great whales, shimmering schools of fish, and delicate seahorses. Above, he populated the skies with birds of every color and size. Eagles soared majestically, sparrows flitted playfully, and peacocks displayed their iridescent plumage. God blessed these creatures, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." The air vibrated with the songs of birds, and the waters teemed with life. It was as though the entire world was celebrating the creativity of its maker. Finally, on the sixth day, God turned his focus to the land. He created animals of every kind, majestic lions, gentle deer, industrious ants, and playful monkeys. Each creature was unique, perfectly suited to its environment. But God was not finished. He paused, surveying all he had made, and decided to create something extraordinary. He formed man from the dust of the ground, breathing life into him with his own breath. Man became a living soul, bearing the very image of God, male and female. He created them, giving them dominion over all living things. They were entrusted with the care of the earth, tasked with stewarding its resources and protecting its beauty. Each step of creation was deliberate, intentional, and infused with meaning. The light spoke of truth, the sky of vastness, the land of stability, and the creatures of diversity. Together, they formed a symphony of life, a masterpiece crafted by the hand of God. When he looked at all he had made, he did not simply see individual elements, but a harmonious whole. And he declared it very good. This was the beginning of everything, a story of beauty, purpose, and divine love that continues to unfold even today. God placed man in a beautiful garden called Eden. Imagine a place so perfect that it defies every limitation of the human imagination. The air was pure, carrying the sweet scent of blooming flowers and the gentle rustle of leaves swaying in a soft breeze. The sun bathed the land in golden light, and crystal-clear streams meandered through lush green fields. Every corner of the garden was alive with color, sound, and vitality. Trees of every kind grew abundantly, their branches heavy with fruit that glistened like jewels under the sunlight. Some bore apples with skin so smooth they reflected the sky, while others offered figs, pomegranates, and dates bursting with flavor. In the very center of this paradise stood two remarkable trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. These were no ordinary trees. Their trunks rose majestically toward the heavens, their bark shimmering faintly as if infused with divine energy. The tree of life radiated an aura of peace and harmony, its leaves whispering promises of eternal vitality. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, on the other hand, exuded an almost magnetic allure. Its fruits seemed to glow softly, drawing the eye and stirring curiosity deep within the soul. God gave Adam one simple command: "You may eat from any tree in the garden, but do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For on the day you eat of it, you will surely die." It was not a harsh rule or an arbitrary restriction. Rather, it was a boundary set by love, designed to protect Adam from something far greater than he could comprehend at the time. The tree of knowledge represented more than just forbidden fruit. It symbolized the choice between trusting God's wisdom or succumbing to the temptation of self-determination. To obey meant living in perfect communion with the Creator, free from pain, fear, and death. To disobey would mean stepping into a world of uncertainty, where good and evil coexist in constant conflict. Adam's days in Eden were filled with wonder and purpose. He named the animals, marveling at their diversity and uniqueness. Lions roared with power, deer bounded gracefully across open fields, and birds painted the skies with their vibrant plumage. Each creature brought him joy, yet none could truly share his thoughts, dreams, or companionship. Recognizing Adam's need for partnership, God caused a deep sleep to fall upon him and formed Eve from one of his ribs. When Adam awoke and saw her, he exclaimed, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Together, they walked hand in hand through the garden, tending to its beauty and basking in the presence of their Creator. Yet even in this idyllic setting, there was a subtle tension, a quiet reminder of the freedom God had given them. The tree of knowledge stood as a test, not of obedience alone, but of trust. Would Adam and Eve believe that God's ways were best, or would they be swayed by doubt and desire? The serpent, craftier than any other creature, slithered unnoticed among the trees, watching and waiting. Its eyes gleamed with cunning, its movements deliberate and calculated. Little did Adam and Eve know that this seemingly insignificant detail, the presence of the serpent, would soon unravel the perfection of Eden and change the course of history forever. As they went about their days, Adam and Eve felt no fear, no shame, and no sense of lack. They were innocent, unaware of the weight of choices beyond their comprehension. But innocence can be fragile, easily shattered when confronted with temptation. And so, beneath the shade of the towering trees, surrounded by abundance and beauty, the stage was unknowingly set for the first great decision humanity would face. Would they remain content in the paradise God had provided, or would they reach for something more, something forbidden, something that promised knowledge but carried a hidden cost? The moment that changed everything began in the heart of Eden, a place so perfect it seemed untouched by any shadow of imperfection. Adam and Eve lived in harmony, surrounded by beauty and abundance. They walked with God in the cool of the day, their lives filled with peace and purpose. But even in paradise, there was a test, a choice that would reveal the depth of their trust in their Creator. One day, as Eve wandered among the trees, she paused near the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Its fruit glistened invitingly, but she remembered God's clear warning, "Do not eat from it, for on the day you do, you will surely die." The command was simple, yet it carried profound weight. It wasn't just about obedience, it was about trust. Would they believe God's words, or would they listen to another voice? That other voice came unexpectedly. A serpent, craftier than any creature in the garden, slithered close. With sly curiosity, it asked, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Eve turned to face the serpent, surprised by the question. "We may eat from the trees," she replied, "but not from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God said if we eat its fruit or touch it, we will die." The serpent tilted its head, its eyes gleaming with mischief. "You will not die," it countered smoothly. "God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." The words lingered in the air, planting a seed of doubt. Was God holding something back? Could this tree truly unlock hidden wisdom? Eve hesitated, her gaze fixed on the forbidden fruit. She had never questioned God before, but now uncertainty crept into her mind. The serpent's words played on her desires, desire for knowledge, for power, for something more. She reached out, touched the fruit, and felt its smooth surface. It looked good for food, pleasing to the eye, and desirable for gaining wisdom. Slowly, she plucked it from the branch and took a bite. In that instant, the world shifted. Her eyes were opened, just as the serpent had promised, but instead of enlightenment, she felt shame. For the first time, she realized she was naked. Panic washed over her, and she quickly covered herself with fig leaves. She ran to Adam, who stood nearby, and offered him the fruit. Without protest, he ate it too. Suddenly, the harmony of Eden shattered. The couple became aware of their vulnerability, their flaws laid bare. They heard God walking in the garden, his footsteps familiar, yet now terrifying. Fear gripped them, and they hid among the trees, but no amount of cover could shield them from what they had done. "Where are you?" God called, his voice gentle but firm. Adam stepped forward, trembling. "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I am naked," he confessed. God's response cut straight to the heart of the matter. "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam did not take responsibility. Instead, he shifted the blame. "The woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate it." God turned to Eve. "What is this you have done?" he asked. Eve, too, deflected. "The serpent deceived me," she said. The consequences of their actions rippled outward. The serpent was cursed to crawl on its belly and eat dust, a symbol of its fall from grace. To Eve, God said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbearing, and your desire will be for your husband, yet he will rule over you." For Adam, the ground itself was cursed. "By painful toil, you will eat from it all the days of your life," God declared. "It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." With heavy hearts, Adam and Eve left the garden, banished from Eden forever. Cherubim with flaming swords guarded the entrance, ensuring they could never return to the tree of life. Their sin had brought separation, not only from God, but also from the perfection they once knew. This pivotal moment in history reveals the fragility of trust and the devastating cost of disobedience. Yet, even in judgment, there is hope. God's plan for redemption began here, setting the stage for a story that would span generations and culminate in ultimate restoration. God's punishment for Adam, Eve, and the serpent marked a pivotal moment in the story of creation. The serpent, who had cunningly deceived Eve, was cursed above all creatures. God declared, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life." This curse not only humiliated the serpent, but also symbolized its fall from grace. It would no longer walk upright like other creatures, but would be forced to slither on the ground, forever associated with deception and evil. To ensure that humanity would never forget this act of betrayal, God added, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." These words carried profound meaning, hinting at a future conflict between good and evil, where humanity would ultimately triumph over the serpent's influence. Eve, too, faced consequences for her disobedience. God turned to her and said, "I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will give birth to children." Yet, this was not the end of her punishment. "Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." These words carried both physical and relational weight. Eve's role as a mother would now come with immense suffering, a stark contrast to the joy she might have experienced in Eden. Moreover, her relationship with Adam would shift. While they had once stood side by side as equals, created in God's image, Eve's rebellion introduced an imbalance. Her desire for Adam would not bring harmony, but tension, and Adam's authority over her would overshadow their partnership. This marked the beginning of a struggle that would ripple through generations, shaping the dynamics between men and women. Adam's punishment was equally profound. God addressed him, saying, "Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. No longer would the earth yield its bounty effortlessly. Thorns and thistles would grow, making Adam's work arduous and frustrating. Every harvest would require sweat, perseverance, and sacrifice. This was a direct consequence of his choice to disobey God's command. Adam had been given dominion over creation, yet he had failed to uphold his responsibility. Now, the very ground beneath his feet would resist him, reminding him daily of his failure. God continued, "By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." These words were both a judgment and a reminder of Adam's mortality. In Eden, Adam had lived in perfect harmony with God, untouched by death or decay. But sin had entered the world, and with it came the inevitability of death. Adam and Eve were no longer immortal beings. Their bodies would age, weaken, and eventually return to the dust from which they were formed. This was a sobering reality, one that would shape the human experience for all time. With their punishments pronounced, Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden. God stationed cherubim at the entrance, wielding flaming swords to guard the way to the tree of life. This expulsion was both an act of mercy and justice. If Adam and Eve had eaten from the tree of life in their fallen state, they would have lived forever in sin, trapped in their brokenness. Instead, God ensured that death remained a part of the human journey, offering hope for redemption and restoration. The cherubim's presence served as a constant reminder of what had been lost and the holiness of God's commands. As Adam and Eve stepped out of Eden, they entered a world vastly different from the paradise they had known. The air felt heavier, the ground harder, and the skies less forgiving. They carried with them the weight of their choices, knowing they could never return to the innocence they once possessed. Yet, even in their exile, there was a glimmer of hope. God's promise to Eve that her offspring would crush the serpent's head offered a glimpse of a future where humanity could overcome the consequences of sin. This promise would echo through the ages, shaping the faith and resilience of those who dared to believe in a better tomorrow. The story of Adam and Eve's fall serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of trust and the cost of disobedience. It challenges us to reflect on our own choices and the ways we navigate relationships, authority, and temptation. Though their story ended in exile, it also began a new chapter, one filled with the possibility of redemption, grace, and renewal. Cain and Abel were the first two sons of Adam and Eve, born into a world still fresh with the scars of their parents' disobedience. From an early age, they each chose different paths in life. Abel became a shepherd, tending to his flocks under the open skies, while Cain worked the soil, cultivating crops from the cursed ground. Both grew strong and industrious, but their hearts carried different motivations. One day, the brothers decided to bring offerings to God. Abel carefully selected the best of his flock, choosing the firstborn lambs that were healthy and without blemish. He approached God with humility, presenting his offering as an act of gratitude and worship. God looked upon Abel's sacrifice with favor, accepting it, not merely because of the quality of the gift, but because of the sincerity and faith behind it. Abel's heart was pure, and his actions reflected his devotion. Cain, on the other hand, gathered some of his crops and brought them before God. However, his offering lacked the same intentionality. Perhaps he felt obligated to give something, anything, to fulfill what he saw as a duty rather than an opportunity to connect with his Creator. Or perhaps pride clouded his judgment, leading him to believe that any offering would suffice. Whatever the reason, God did not accept Cain's sacrifice. This rejection struck a deep chord within Cain, igniting a storm of emotions, anger, jealousy, and shame. God noticed Cain's distress and approached him with compassion. He asked, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted?" These words were not a rebuke, but an invitation, a chance for Cain to reflect on his heart and realign himself with God's will. God continued, "But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Here was a warning, a reminder that unchecked emotions could lead to destructive choices. Yet Cain turned away from this counsel, allowing bitterness to take root. Jealousy consumed Cain. He began to resent Abel, whose offering had been accepted. Instead of seeking to understand why his own sacrifice had fallen short, Cain fixated on his brother's success. The more he dwelled on it, the darker his thoughts became. One day, unable to contain his rage, Cain lured Abel into a field under the pretense of working together. Once they were alone, Cain attacked Abel and killed him. The first murder had been committed, staining the earth with innocent blood. When God came to confront Cain, he asked, "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain responded with defiance, saying, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" His words revealed not only his guilt, but also his refusal to take responsibility for his actions. God, however, knew the truth. He declared, "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the weight of his punishment. "My punishment is too great to bear," he cried. "Whoever finds me will kill me." Though Cain had sinned grievously, God showed mercy. He placed a mark on Cain to protect him, ensuring that anyone who harmed him would face divine retribution sevenfold. With this mark, Cain left his family and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. There, he built a life apart from God, marrying and having children, yet forever haunted by the consequences of his actions. The story of Cain and Abel serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of unchecked jealousy and anger. It shows how small seeds of resentment can grow into acts of unspeakable harm. But it also highlights God's justice and mercy. Even when humanity strays far from Him, God remains present, offering guidance and protection, even to those who have sinned greatly. Through this tale, we see the complexities of human nature, the capacity for both good and evil, and the enduring hope that redemption is always possible, no matter how far we fall. The story of humanity's lineage after the fall of Adam and Eve is one of resilience, faith, and divine purpose. After Cain killed Abel and was marked by God to wander the earth, Adam and Eve bore another son named Seth. Seth became a symbol of hope for humanity, as his birth signaled the continuation of mankind's story on earth. It was through Seth that the generations began to multiply, each life carrying forward the legacy of creation. Seth lived 105 years before having a son, whom he named Enosh. During Enosh's time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord, seeking his guidance and presence. This marked an important shift in humanity's relationship with God, as it showed a growing awareness of their dependence on him. Enosh lived for 905 years, and his descendants carried forward this tradition of faith. One of Enosh's descendants was Canaan, who also walked faithfully with God. Canaan had a son named Mahalalel, whose name meant praise of God. Through these generations, humanity continued to grow, but so did the seeds of sin planted in Eden. While some sought God, others turned away, choosing pride and selfishness over humility and obedience. Yet, even amid this tension, God remained patient, allowing humanity to learn and grow. Mahalalel's son was Jared, a man who lived for 962 years. Jared's long life gave him time to teach his children about God's goodness and justice. One of Jared's sons, Enoch, stands out in the genealogy as a remarkable figure. Enoch walked so closely with God that Scripture says he did not experience death. Instead, at the age of 365, God took him directly into heaven. Enoch's life serves as a powerful reminder that even in a fallen world, it is possible to live in harmony with God's will. His example inspires us to seek a deeper connection with the Creator, no matter how dark the times may seem. Enoch's son, Methuselah, holds the record for the longest human lifespan, living for 969 years. Methuselah's name means, "When he dies, it shall come," hinting at the judgment that would soon follow his death. In his later years, Methuselah fathered Lamech, a man who faced great struggles in his lifetime. Lamech once declared, "If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times," reflecting the increasing violence and retribution among humans during this era. Despite the challenges, Lamech named his son Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands, caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." Noah grew up in a world increasingly consumed by wickedness. As humanity multiplied, so did corruption, until every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The earth became filled with violence, and God grieved deeply over what he saw. Yet, amidst this darkness, Noah found favor in God's eyes. He was described as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah's life represents a turning point in the narrative of humanity, a glimmer of hope in a world spiraling toward destruction. Through Noah, God chose to preserve life and renew his covenant with humanity. But the story of Seth's lineage does more than simply list names. It paints a picture of perseverance and divine grace. Each generation faced its own trials, yet God remained faithful. From Seth to Enosh, from Enoch to Noah, we see a thread of redemption woven through history. These ancestors remind us that even when humanity strays, God continues to work through those who remain loyal to him. As we reflect on this genealogy, we are reminded that every life has meaning and purpose. Seth's descendants were not perfect. They were flawed individuals navigating a broken world, but they trusted in God's promises. Their stories encourage us to look beyond our circumstances and cling to hope, knowing that God's plan unfolds across generations. Whether through Enoch's miraculous departure to heaven or Noah's preparation for the flood, we see evidence of God's unwavering commitment to restore and redeem his creation. This lineage ultimately points forward to something greater, a promise fulfilled in Jesus Christ, who would come to offer salvation to all people. Until then, the lives of Seth, Enoch, Methuselah, and Noah stand as testaments to God's enduring love and patience. They challenge us to live with purpose, to walk humbly with our Creator, and to trust in His timing, even when we cannot see the full picture. For in the end, it is not just about individual lives, but about how each person contributes to the grand story of redemption, a story that continues to unfold today. As we come to the end of this journey, I can't help but reflect on how deeply personal these ancient stories feel. They're not just historical accounts or moral lessons. They're mirrors reflecting our own struggles, choices, and aspirations. The creation narrative reminds me of the beauty and intentionality woven into existence, while the fall of man echoes the imperfections and vulnerabilities that make us human. It's humbling to think about how one moment, one decision, can ripple through generations, shaping the world in ways we may never fully understand. What strikes me most is the tension between freedom and responsibility. Adam and Eve were given incredible freedom, but also a clear boundary. Their choice to cross it speaks to something universal: the human desire to know more, to reach further, even when it comes at a cost. Cain's story reinforces this. His jealousy and anger remind us how unchecked emotions can lead to irreversible consequences. Yet, amidst all the brokenness, there's hope. Seth's lineage shows us that even after failure, new beginnings are possible. Life continues, carrying both the scars and the promise of redemption. The key takeaway here is simple yet profound. Our choices matter. Every action we take shapes not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. We have the power to create or destroy, to build bridges or walls. So, what will you choose? Will you live with greater awareness of your impact on others? Will you seek reconciliation when relationships fracture, or strive for humility when pride takes hold? I encourage you to sit with these stories. Let them challenge you. Question what they mean for your life today. Have conversations with friends, family, or even within yourself. Dive deeper into understanding where you fit into this grand narrative. Because ultimately, these aren't just stories of the past. They're invitations to shape a better future. What will yours look like?